All right, I'll call to order the January 2025 meeting of the Glendale Planning and Historic Preservation Commission. We will begin, as always, Becky, noting that we have not just a quorum, but all membership here today. Yeah. All right. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. As always, we'll begin with a review of the minutes of our last meeting. Members of the commission, you've had a chance to review those.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Any further discussion, members of the commission? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is our annual meeting, ladies and gentlemen. So next on our agenda is the nomination and election of officers. I'll turn it over to the rest of you to decide what you want to do.
Okay, I nominate Tom Bernstein as chair, Tom Kerr as vice chair, and Leslie Cooper as secretary. And that's my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second. Second.
Any discussion, members of the commission? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, everybody, for your vote.
Thank you for serving.
It's on my pleasure.
Thank you, Leslie.
I think I speak for Tom and Leslie as well. All right, but next on the agenda is review of the bylaws and historic guidelines, because it is our annual meeting. I'm gonna put that to the end of our meeting. That gives us a little bit more flexibility to talk and have some discussion time. So with that, I'll move into old business. And that, the first item there, and the only item, is the request for property at 68 Washington Avenue for a new single-family home. Mr. Edwards, is that correct?
That is correct. You
Okay.
can please call me Les.
Les Edwards, okay, very good. Welcome back. This is which iteration of the home, I think?
This would be the Nolan home, which was the last, I believe my last attendance was the October meeting, or was
Okay.
it the November? It's kind of starting to blur.
Yeah.
And I believe the request from the body was to get the three parcels consolidated, as well as have a stamp from the surveyor with the new property on it. I've been communicating with David. I've sent him everything. As of this morning, the county has all the blueprint, the new legal description, and I was told 7 to 10 days from now, I'll be able to pick it up to deliver it to the recorder's office.
Okay.
Fantastic.
That's for your plat you're talking about, not for the
Yeah.
building plans, okay.
Yeah, just for the plaque.
Okay. All right. David, you reviewed the plans, does it conform with the zoning, setbacks and so forth?
Yeah, the only issue on Les's revised plot, the consolidation plan, and I've already discussed this with him, was the 5-foot setback for the driveway on the eastern side of the property. You had indicated that it was, you were going to shift everything, I believe?
Yeah, we're gonna just shift
Okay.
everything by 5 feet.
Okay.
So he's aware of the requirement to update the drawings. We'll make sure those revised drawings are ready for, and there's the, well,
There was.
if it worked, you would see how, there it is. There's the
No,
drawing.
he's got shifted over. He's
Yeah,
got
and the
shifted
note
over.
regarding the driveway setback. But that was, other than that, I'm happy to report, I think we're at the end of the process.
Yes.
Great.
At least on zoning.
Except for the red house, right? I knew it was a limitation on mine.
Oh,
Of course, there's nothing there. 60.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Look good. The house looks really.
Yeah. David, can you put the picture of the
Sure.
house up?
I like it. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice. It's a nice
So the
house.
only question I have is on your site plan, it shows the driveway on the right side, the east side of the house.
Yes, we
Your floor?
agreed to flip it back over. That was one of the conversation we had, that it would be better just because of the turn radius into the driveway. So I agree, we're flipping it back to what it originally was.
To the right side.
So the
Back
the garage will be on the left-hand back corner.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the only thing I'm gonna ask the builder to do is flip the doors around, so the garage, the main door will be facing east.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. Okay.
good.
Very nice.
So So then that whole area between the garage door and the east side of the house is all concrete area, or what
It,
is
w-
that
it will,
gonna be?
it might
I mean,
be a
it's not saying it
various,
has to be, I'm just
right now,
curious.
it's, going by memory, everything is asphalt to about maybe 3-4 feet. Just because when they did the demolition, they removed the old detached garage.
Yeah.
And so I'm not 100% sure. And so I believe in my contract with the builder, I get up to 35 feet. And so anything additional, I'll look at the price to get me from that 35-foot to the garage door. It may be a combination of gravel in the back. It all depends on pricing. My biggest thing is trying to keep this budget down.
Sure.
So I'm not paying a lot on the mortgage, and so
So right now, I mean,
it may be a lot of things done after the house is built.
yeah,
Just to
right
save
now
money.
I'm just looking at your 58-foot total width of the house minus the 20 feet, so there's already 38 feet left over in the back of concrete.
Uh-huh.
And then the width of your house it's 60 minus 22, so 38. So you've got about 38 feet on the side of your house, plus whatever's going to the very front of from your house to the street for you for concrete.
And then
Which is
what-
31.4.
Now, one of the concerns I'm
69 feet.
having is they're gonna put a construction driveway. And I'm gonna assume because on the west side is all the utilities there, that they're not gonna be able to do it. So they're probably gonna tear up my driveway.
Yeah.
And so I have to be okay with that. My hope is that back part, I'll be able to salvage some of it to help out. If not, again, we'll just gravel over the back and then find a different contractor, because it seems like there's a premium always added by the builder.
Change orders.
Well, y'all laugh.
They love those change
Been there,
orders.
done that.
Yeah, we're there. Tell them it goes.
So where's the people door gonna be for the garage now? Are you still gonna have one? The outside entrance, not the garage door entrance? but-
I will have an outside rear. I just may not have access from inside the garage to go inside the house. But at that point, we're looking at I believe that's gonna be a sliding door. It's only gonna be maybe, and I'm guessing no more than 10 steps to go from the inside the garage into the great room. So we would have to be okay with that. It all depends on, I need to ask them where we're gonna put the utility boxes, because also, just thinking when I met with Duke, they actually wanted me to have the garage there because they told me that most new constructions, the main panel is in the garage. And it's like, we'll give you enough room, but it would be easier if it was on there. So it actually, in retrospect, works out much better for all the other people involved in building this house.
Alright, Sir, you provided two plans or drawings or pictures, I should say, of chimneys.
Chimneys.
What's your intention with respect to the chimneys?
That will be the design.
The one that's on the
That
screen
one.
now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the second one, was that the shroud that I was trying to?
There was a
Oh, that's the dummy. The more I researched on that, they become problematic down the road. I thought you were talking about the third one. It made me. It just went to you. Yeah,
I know what you mean.
yeah. Because I was hoping to please you with a dummy by using a shroud, a chimney. I believe it's called a chimney shroud to go around the the plumbing air vent. But I believe the last meeting you said no because the lattice design of it, you didn't like it. So I just said scrap it. We'll just get out the actual chimney.
And you're going with this one?
We're gonna go with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I will try this. I will move to approve, provided the following changes. The house is moved 5 feet to the west, allowing for a 5-foot space between the east property line and the driveway, and that the garage door faces the garage vehicle door faces the east.
Randy, would you also add a note that the chimney that's on the screen now would be?
Yes,
a
that
part-
it is the
Modern chimney.
modern chimney.
One other suggestion, I would suggest that the approval be conditioned upon approval of the plat, the consolidation plat. That's not been approved by the county or by us right now.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it.
It has been,
And that the plat is completed, that consolidation is completed and approved by the county.
they did give me, I talked to them this morning, they did give me a receipt that has been stamped and approved by the county engineer. And they received it, and that I'll receive,
Okay.
once they do whatever they're doing in the next 7,
that'll
10
be fine.
days,
Yeah,
it will be completely,
Yeah.
updated when you all go, I assume cages or whatever.
this is really for David, when he approves the building.
Yes, oh, okay.
So this is not for you, this is for, I mean, you need to know this, but Dave, what we're telling David is, before he signs the building permit, these things have to be in place.
All right. Yeah,
Just shoot me an email when they confirm.
all right, excellent.
That's all I need.
All right, so that was a very complete motion. Is there a second to his motion?
I'll second it.
All right, anyone in the audience wish to address this application?
Good deal.
Further discussion, members of the commission? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Almost there.
Thank you, thank you.
Now you just gotta write the check.
Oh, yeah, the hard part now.
Done your
Good looking
homework.
house. That is nice.
It is a nice looking house.
So will you send me an email with all the conditions, all right, so I can,
I did have
I'll
one-
forward that to the builder.
I did have one more
All right.
question, David.
All right, excellent.
Did you look at the 31-foot setback? Does that put it in line with the other houses?
I know the house immediately to the west has essentially a 0 line setback. It is pretty much on the
That's
side.
right,
But yeah, 30 foot is more or less
22.
standard,
Has
harmonious
about as
Good.
with the
All right,
number. Yep.
all right, excellent. All right.
He's on the
Again,
front
thank you all.
setback.
You all
He's
have a
on the
great
front
day.
setback.
Thank you.
No, Randy, you were talking about the front setback, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. All right, very good. Let's move on. We have new business, request for property at 15 South Lake for fence and accessory structure. I don't have a name on the agenda, but somebody's here to talk about that.
Yes, sir. I'm Dan Whirling, 15 South Lake, requesting outbuilding, a landscaping berm, and a fence. Pool's already been approved.
I had one question. On the garage door, is it on the east side or the west side?
So the garage door will be on the east side.
Okay, so away from the 747.
No, actually, I'm sorry, that'll be on,
Can you put
that's
that
the
up?
west side. It'll be on the west
West
side,
side.
yeah. So looking at that picture, that's going southbound. And so the garage door would be on the right side or west side of the house. And then there's another garage door, right where you see that there's that window is actually a garage door
Good.
that I'll be using for access into the building.
Can you pull up the plan view?
Mhm.
So I can just-
It's upside down.
Let's see if I have
So you'll be able to see the garage door from Congress, from
Yes, sir.
747? Okay, that's what I want to make sure.
Well, I guess with the berm there, maybe not,
Okay.
but
How high's the berm gonna be?
the plan was to probably start around 5 feet, but because ground settles,
Yeah.
it'll probably go to about 3
Okay,
potentially.
okay.
And it would be like an S essentially. I couldn't really do it with the pointer, but it's the same kind of premise of the landscape accordingly like that. snake.
What is the condition of the fencing that's around that's?
The old.
It's
keeping
all wood, and then it has, I think I put it up there, there's the railing.
A split rail,
Yes, but
Yeah.
yes, sir.
With new.
and it's all gonna be like the one in the picture?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, with a wire mesh also, right?
Yes, sir.
where's the driveway on, from this plan? It's not
There's no
drawn.
driveway in access to that at all. There'll be
Oh.
no, there'll be no, yeah, it's just an outbuilding.
Convenience store, really.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, storage.
Pool access store.
More than anything else, it'll be pool storage. It'll be, for, anything we use for the pool. Umbrellas and chairs and such.
And
That's gonna be on this side.
yeah, that's what I thought. Driveway might be it. Do we have architectural elevations of that?
I don't believe we do. We have these renderings. Are these going to match the appearance of the home, of the structure?
Yes, outside of the two windows that you see there, and no window on the, I guess that would be the east side. You're looking at the south and east side of the building.
The south
There will be
end of the
no
garage
windows in
door.
the rear, and one casement style window on the east side.
Isn't there another rendering that shows the garage door on the side of the building? A rendering?
Yeah, there's a
Somewhere,
kind of
there,
photograph
there,
here.
that one,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what we're doing, yeah. Okay.
So the rendering that shows the two windows, I guess you said east,
You're not.
No,
gonna
that's
Really
south.
west.
west?
That would be
Right.
south,
That's the south side.
south side, sir.
Could you pull that image up?
The
Yeah,
south side
it
has two
does.
windows, it's not gonna.
So the
be-
windows on the
be
bottom one, that's the south side?
Yes,
And you
those
said
two
there'll be
windows would be
one
the.
window
No,
there?
sir, no
No,
windows on the
no
south
windows
side.
at all?
No, we would have one casement style on the right, on the east side. So
Okay.
instead of, you would, right now it doesn't show a window there, but there would be a window right there.
Okay, and is that intended to match kind of the windows of
Yes,
the
sir.
home?
Yes, sir.
Will
Case-
that have mullions in it?
Yes, sir. It'll look exactly the same.
And we usually ask for a true divided light mullion. So it would literally be a mullion on the inside and the outside glass with a filler piece in the middle of the glass. So it wouldn't be like just a tacked on piece of mullion?
I think it's on the inside. I mean, between the two pieces. or-
Correct, there would be one on the outside of the glass and one on the inside of the glass, and then a filler piece in the middle of them.
I
In
can
other
make it,
words-
I can make that so, yes. I.
That would be
Okay.
preferred, yeah.
Yes.
That just follows the intent and the design.
So, a true divided light is when they used to not make big sheets of glass, they made small pieces of glass, and there were wood pieces that went from the inside of the house to the outside of the house. Well, in today's world with dual pane, triple pane windows, that doesn't make sense. So now what they do is they take the two pieces of glass and they literally just slide a piece in. And it provides much nicer perspective look, depth. And then the two pieces that fit on the outside.
Okay.
So they're applied to the outside of the glass,
Glass.
the mullions.
Yeah, yeah. If I'd been home and I had my folder with me, since I just drove in from Indianapolis, I would have had my handout that says that, but, but yeah, we're not looking for real divided lights, very expensive. The simulated divided light, it costs like another $25 or $30 to have the piece put in the middle, that's all. It's not real expensive.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So what are these vinyl windows or they,
No, they're casement style windows, just like the house.
but what are they made out of?
Vinyl, I'm sure.
Vinyl.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions or a motion?
I'll move to approve, with the agreement to remove the two windows from the south side, add one casement window with simulated divided lights to the east side, and a garage door to the west side.
So garage door on,
Where you have
where I
it.
currently have, okay,
Yeah.
I apologize, thank you.
And we saw pictures, didn't we, not of the garage door? that's
Yes.
proposed?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Let me ask if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address this application? Members of the commission, further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Did
Thank you, sir. David will set you up with permits and so forth. Building permits.
Into our office.
Yes, sir.
For building permits, and we'll
Yep.
get you going.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you. That concludes action items for business today. David, you had something under old business, an upcoming item for Washington Avenue?
Yes. I have received, as of now, an incomplete, but I'll say partially complete application for a conditional use approval for the property at 42 Washington Avenue, otherwise known as the Eckstein School. The proposed conditional use under the code is defined as a club, and I won't read the entire definition word for word, but I will tell you it is essentially a nonprofit social, educational, or recreational operation. So I anticipate receiving all of the other materials that we'll need for the application in time for the February meeting. So that will likely be on the agenda in February. And commission can review it. Just wanted to give you a heads up that we're going to be coming into a pretty thorough conditional use review on this application.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let me ask if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the commission at this time under other business.
I would like to address the issue of 42 Washington.
Sure.
If you don't mind, because I don't think our recording secretary can, I don't think he can see him.
Is that the the upcoming one? Is that the upcoming?
For next month, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a-
Why is he addressing it now?
As a resident, my name's Kevin Parrish at 176 Washington. As a resident, I'm like confused at your analysis of what the original proposal for the Eckstein School was when it was proposed about 10 years ago. That application was put in complete detail with business plans and everything else, and how you arrive at it to be a club instead of a place of diverse educational criteria. That's what it's always been. It was proposed when people were trying to get that school, that it was going to be an educational facility with a lot of diversity, which is the only thing that's been absent from anything that's been in the village of Glendale is diversity. And now you say, in association with it, a club?
Excuse me a second. Do you have the chart handy for conditional use proposed in the village plan that has a list of all the things, like when we were looking at nursing homes, all
Yes.
that? Do you have a list of that? Is that where you're drawing this club
Yes. So
definition from?
in my conversations with the applicant and in review of the dozen or so conditional uses in a residential district where this property is located, in conversations with the applicant prior to their application, but in anticipation of it, discussed with them potential uses that may apply to the property. And of those, again, 12, 15, don't remember the exact number, conditional uses, which are the only conditional uses permitted. Club, by definition, applies most fittingly to the proposed use.
So it sounds.
I was just going to add, it does not insinuate membership or exclusivity or anything like that. It's simply a legal term that defines. I can read the definition if we like.
Be a good idea.
But this is a
but-
way to accommodate the proposed use so that we can approve it.
I don't think that
That's what it
anything about
amounts
the
to.
proposed.
Well, I'm just looking at that in comparison to the Lyceum, which rents its space out. And it's not defined as a club. The Harry Whiting Brown facility, which rents its space out, and it's not defined as conditional use as a club.
Did those predate, those two
Oh, yes.
items predated?
Well,
Just-
before
just a
they-
bit.
Before 42
Getting
was
the ordinance.
considered as a nursing home, there was application and originality. So, I mean, if the definition of club came about at the time of consideration for nursing home, when Denny had the facility, then When did that rule change?
But in the conditional use list, nursing home, convalescent home is a specific line
It's a
item
separate
that
condition.
shows that is one of the
There's-
values.
He said
you
there's
could
between 12 and
use.
15
So-
definitions. This is just the one that meets it the best.
This is the first time in me following the whole activity, considering this property, which you guys have showed very little interest in supporting it, that now it's got a club designation. That seemed like something I'm saying
What do
is
you wanna
very
call
funny
it?
to you.
Not yet, not yet. We still have to go through the conditional use process.
Oh, I
before it
understand that. I
lands
mean,
on-
I've been to these meetings because we have an absence of diversity in this community, and so I always show up to show that, to interject in your exclusiveness of whiteness,
This
that I show up representing black.
Question, what do you wanna call it?
Huh?
I mean, on the list, what would you prefer to call it?
I would say that it is well, it's never been registered at a school until it got registered, you know, for all the time that Princeton School District and then Village of Glendale's had it. They never put it on the register as a school, even though it was an educational facility in all of its history. But now that it is, and now that we're continuing the educational process of presenting kids with after-school activities, I mean, that's what the proposal I thought was, in considering the renovation of this facility.
Sure.
Then that's all it's ever been, is to give kids a opportunity of inclusiveness, as I grew up with, and going to Glendale Elementary and then to Princeton with diversity, giving them a chance to experience that before they get older, and it's harder to teach them that then. So I would just say it was just an educational facility that gives the opportunity of diversity, which is quite absent here.
So, under our code, educational uses are conditional uses in residential districts. However, it has a curriculum requirement that matches state curriculum standards. I think it might be helpful for everyone if I do read the definition of club.
Okay.
It is, and this is word for word from the ordinance definition of the term, a building or portion thereof or premises owned or operated by a corporation, association, person, or persons for a social, educational, or recreational purpose,
Sounds perfect.
but not primarily for profit or to render a service which is customarily carried on as a business. Essentially, it is a nonprofit, social, educational, or recreational purpose.
So it meets what you want. It says it's education.
Sounds like everything you're gonna be about.
This is a way to enable it to happen. This is not an obstacle. This
Well-
is a way to,
So do
to
you
make
put
it
that,
happen.
on that designation or name on Lyceum? Isn't that the same?
we're
doesn't
not
have anything
talking
to do
about
with
the
that.
Lyceum.
No, I'm just saying other organizations or businesses that exist in this village.
I believe if the Lyceum came forward today, that's what it would fall in.
I agree.
Oh.
You're gonna fall under the club
All right.
designation.
And
Okay.
remember, the Lyceum predates zoning, not just Glendale zoning, but zoning,
Zoning period.
period.
yes.
So,
Well, what about Harry White Brown?
It would probably be the same.
same
Yeah,
club,
it's like
educational.
Recreational, educational, community activity.
Yeah.
I just
This
want-
is a good thing, Mr. Parrish. This
Well, I'm
enables
not-
you
I'm not
to
saying that.
develop
I'm
your
just saying-
programs that you want to do at this property.
Well, this is what I have a problem with in the village of Glendale, is the longevity of the decision-making based upon 42 Washington. This has been in this format, which you guys were, what, a decade? About 10 years? For it to finally almost get ready to happen?
It was
And
only
I'm just
before
I'm
planning
just
one
confused.
time, I think.
I'd
Was
say-
it came before planning when Dellinger had it, maybe?
Yes.
Did
No.
it come
Same
before
attending
planning as a
delays.
recreational center yet?
No, it came
No,
for,
it didn't.
before
So-
planning and its originality, way before Denny had it.
It
When- I
never
don't
came to
remember.
this commission that I'm aware of.
I can't
It
recall
came
that.
here, it was,
What year?
the plans were,
It was never
given
owned by
to you
the
guys,
applicant.
but, you know, you can check the records, I'm not with ECAC, I'm here talking on behalf of being a resident here in the village of
Sure.
Glendale.
And it was not owned by this applicant at this point.
So,
And
I
your
mean, during the
applicant-
process of when you guys were having
David,
bidding
is
for
the
this property.
applicant the contractor in this case? Is that the person
Yeah,
making
the app.
application?
Oh no, the applicant is the Exine Cultural Arts Center
Right, right.
as a nonprofit corporation.
But who is submitting?
It is being submitted by ECAC, but
Okay.
they have partnered with a construction construction company or
Okay.
contractor
Is there a board?
to assist. There is.
Board, okay.
ECAC has a board.
ECAC has a board.
Yeah,
Okay,
these,
so-
those materials are in the already submitted application,
Okay.
so,
Nice.
yeah, all
And I
that will be
believe they
included.
have 501c3 in good standing at this point.
Of course.
Yep.
All,
Sounds good.
all documents are in good standing. I just came forth to put on the record for this recorded first of the year meeting, my comments as a resident in concern with 42 Washington Avenue.
All right, thank you.
Right, thank you.
All right, anyone else in the audience? Let's move on to what's now was listed as number 3, the review of the bylaws and historic guidelines. Because this is our annual meeting, we're required to give discussion about whether we see any work programs for the upcoming year, if we see a need to update the zoning regulations or update the guidelines. And Tom is passing out his thoughts on the regulations, correct?
Application for sure, we should update.
What I'm handing out here, I ran across, Mike and I were talking about renovating this space, some plans that I had from Mayor Hoop when we were working on that. And I found this work from about 22 years ago when impervious surface was up, a lot of discussion for impervious surface and to prevent overbuilding of lots for runoff and drainage and that sort of thing. So that was, anyway, I ran across this again and I thought, you know what, I think I'll bring it back. So the concept was, how do you control impervious surface? Well, you have to have a measurable calculation-based square footage and method of calculating impervious surface. I mean, mathematical engineering kind of a function, so that it's not ambiguous or wishy-washy or anything like that. So anyway, I'd worked on this with Debbie Granger back then. It's been quite a while. Like I said, I think, Mike, I don't know if you remember, was it 2003, the files I gave you, or 2000?
I don't remember the date on
It was a long time ago.
Okay.
So anyway, we went and looked back then. You've heard of this Village of Riverside, Illinois, the historic district. Which is often cited as an example of how to do it. And so we've found some ordinances based referencing impervious surface. So use that as just a starting point. This is all this is. And then, so that's on the page 2 where it says on the bottom left, Village of Riverside, Illinois. And you can look this up on their website if you're interested in seeing more of their details and such things. So we're in a similar situation in our historic district. So then what it did was take on the chart on the front, this one, and basically the whole concept here is not to change any of the existing setbacks, minimum lot area per family, minimum lot width, minimum square feet per dwelling unit. That's part of our ordinance and now in the district, the use district and stuff. So the thing about this would be an additive feature to the chart, which it gives a basis for calculating impervious square footage allowed on lots. So on the maximum coverage, it's that 2 columns, which is a square foot number and a percentage number, is based on the calculated based on the minimum lot area per family over in the left, which in the top row is 43,560. So in this example, if you had a lot that was exactly the minimum lot, you could do 6,534 square feet of impervious surface.
Is that building
on
and
15%.
pavement?
Yes, it's all impervious surface.
Okay.
Sidewalks, outbuildings, accessory
Patios,
buildings, patios,
decks.
any impervious surface
Okay.
that prevents water from going down into the earth. So that's how. So normally you wouldn't have a lot that was exactly 43,580 feet. So you would have a lot that might have additional square footage in it. So in the column on the right, additional allowance per square foot over the minimum lot area. So for example, for every square foot over, so let's say you had an additional 100 square feet, you could have 5% of that covered, so, or 5 square feet over and above. So the additional area would be calculated separately from the minimum lot area in this example. So these percentages are just talking point, you know, they're guesstimations based on what the reference of the percentages from Riverside and some other sites we looked at back then. And this was just a starting point to lay in percentages on a chart as an example. So those could be negotiated, those could be adjusted up or down. But for now, this was just to get it on the table and out for discussion. And I don't know if this is something we could think about till next month and then come back and say, we think this is a good idea, and vote to pass this on to council, whoever the person, responsible council member is, to then further develop the actual percentages. That's it.
Good research.
So,
Yeah,
this is
I'd
all
want to
good.
know how a sampling, if you took just a random sampling of homes in Glendale and saw how they fit this criteria, how many would fit, how many would fail, that type of thing.
I think you'd see on the larger lots, I think they'd fit with no problem whatsoever. As we're getting smaller, part of what we have to start thinking about in the future is demo by neglect is starting to happen. We're seeing houses get torn down, and then we're seeing bigger houses with more square footage of impervious surface be built on lots, in smaller lots, in fact, and taking that up. So if this is really something to think about for the future as things deteriorate, get torn down, and get rebuilt. Do we want to keep green space? Do we want to keep pervious surface for runoff and drainage? So,
Do we want a whole village of McMansions? Which has happened in
The
some
answer is
places
no.
like
Montgomery.
Yeah, Montgomery. Well,
Montgomery.
Hillsdale, Illinois is just horrendous.
Yeah.
They had a nice village with a mixture of smaller and larger homes,
Yeah.
and these very small lots. They're literally driveway to driveway on one side and 10 feet on the other, and almost no backyards and no front yards.
and what you're saying, the way the ordinance is, and this was an argument I used about 23 years ago with Sam Allen, as a matter of fact. The way the ordinances are written, you could build on the largest lots with the setbacks the way they are now. Legally, you could put almost a football-sized field on some of these larger house. And Sam's comment, oh, that would not be appropriate, and it may not be for the style and scale and mass that we've been discussing in some of these other developments. But anyway, it's a concept. I think the time's, like, once again, appropriate to discuss.
I'd be interested just to know for comparison, kind of how Carruthers Pond relates to this, because those are smaller
Well, that was
ponds.
a development, which was under different ordinances, and it wasn't in the historic district either.
Yeah.
But
I'd
it's
just
something
like
you
to get
can
a feel
consider
for
as a
how-
benchmark.
Yeah.
Right,
How
as a
in
benchmark
Zoe
comparison.
it
Yeah.
works.
Just so we can see kind of what we're talking about.
Here's oh, you mean
Yeah.
Existing is existing, so we have to look forward, like this, we have to look forward from here, today forward. But, if you go back and calculate it as a reference, just to get if you want to see if it works or not, I think you're gonna find most of the big lots, they work. I think they're well under what this
sure.
would allow.
I question whether my lot would work. Right? When
Sounds
you
like,
add-
sounds like
With the
homework.
garage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like homework.
Homework.
That'd be a good example.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
again,
I'm gonna do it.
again,
Uh-huh.
it's,
So how, would the house on West Fountain, the pivotal structure law or zoning, would that take precedent over this, or would this take precedent over that?
They'd both be in play, I think.
More restrictive.
The more restrictive would control it, I think.
Yeah.
pivotal structures
The
are the
more
more
restrictive would
controlling,
control
more
it.
restrictive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would think
Again,
too, but I just was raising the question, because
Yeah.
you wouldn't want somebody to come in and say, well, I can build this much and then have a tower over be larger than a
Right,
pivotal
right.
structure.
So I think whichever was the most restrictive would control
Yeah.
that
Right. Oh,
situation.
definitely.
Yeah.
And
Like
then
this
is-
example we just went through with the pivotal structure adjacent was controlled by that, not, it wouldn't have anything to do with this.
Yeah.
And then this would Are you proposing that this would only apply in historic districts?
That's all we have it
No.
related to at this point, but that's up to council whether they
You
make
could
it
make it more
village-wide.
Yeah,
You could
it
make it
should be.
village-wide.
Yeah,
Village-wide.
if you're trying to control impervious surface, yeah,
It's not-
you would wanna do that.
Good.
Not dependent on historic status.
Right, because then you have historic
Village-wide.
structures throughout the village that may not be in a historic district.
Well, in fact, these zones, these districts, these
Mhm.
cover all districts, right?
All of them, Yep,
Not just the historic district, as you see, so the chart.
right.
And you notice it's more, it's a little, what we noticed on the chart, it's a little more lenient towards smaller lots as far as the percentage, because they don't have as much to work with.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have
It's
to
up to
have
45%,
more
yeah.
allowables. But on large, it's kinda like the tax code, you know, the way it's prorated or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
Don't let
so
every
you'll
resident
notice that,
invest.
progressive, yeah, there you go.
Tom, was impervious surface, or the concept of it, and you may not know this answer, was it started as from an environmental runoff perspective of how much absorption there is in the soil? Was that the key issue, or
Yeah.
was it a house mass relative to the,
It was more the runoff issue.
okay.
And a lot of this, back in the day, you know, up there, was the school, Bethany?
Bethany?
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, all the
Yeah,
runoff coming
yeah,
down the hill and
yeah.
flooding the people.
Albion had
Some
a
of the
huge
people
problem.
there, you know, that, you know, it's
Yeah,
been a
Joe
hot,
Albion.
it's been a hot button for
Yeah.
years, and
Yeah.
it's,
Okay.
this,
And
anyway,
it's not gonna change
So then,
anytime soon.
if this was reviewed, tweaked, whatever, but kind of approved as submitted-ish, would then anything differing from this require a variance, I would assume?
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
anyone who wanted to, you know, in realistically, I mean, lot configuration, location of existing garages, or
Right.
whatever might necessitate a variance, or
Right.
might make it easier to receive a variance,
Or gravel driveways.
or gravel driveways. But like everything else in the zoning code, those conditions exist for, you know,
Yeah.
certain
Guideline,
situations.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
Is there still something on the books about the last 10 feet of a driveway needing to not be gravel? I remember a long time ago, there was something that, to keep that stuff from washing onto the sidewalk and washing into the street.
I have never heard of anything like that. I've never seen anything like that. I know that there are plenty of gravel driveways that
Yeah,
aren't.
All the way up.
they did go all the way.
Yeah.
I had one on Willow that did, but I thought there was something in there about the last 10 feet somewhere.
And that may be in the code other than the zoning code, the other part of the ordinances.
Yeah, I'm not, there might be maybe a building code thing. I don't know. I'd have to,
I saw it like 30 years ago.
I'd have to
Okay.
dig, so I don't know.
If your mind is like my mind 30 years ago, that could have come from a lot of different places.
No, I'm pretty sure I remember something like that.
Okay.
David, if we as a commission decide to study this further and develop it into a full-blown amendment, would this have to start with council as a recommendation? Or you've already done this?
No, what I was gonna say is, I think this is the concept, this is a blank, you know, a format with some conceptual percentages, but it, from our point of view, we would vote to forward this to council as something we think needs to be worked on, because they're the ones that have to pass the ordinance for the specific numbers of these percentages and square footage data on this chart.
Well,
So-
certainly they would, but the way any amendment to the zoning regulations comes about, they would ask us to review it in detail.
Okay.
And then we would make a recommendation back to them.
Okay.
I mean, the concept, the direction of whether or not to study it may start with council. Maybe that's a good way to think of it, say, hey, members of council, we've got this concept to explore impervious surface in relation to the lot size. Do you want to pursue? If so, give the planning commission, by way of a formal vote, the green light, and then we would flesh this all out.
That sounds reasonable.
I mean, it keeps planning from spending time working on it if council's not interested
Right.
in it.
That's true.
Planning can initiate a zoning code amendment and without council approval. So it could start from planning, if planning wanted to just work on it. I agree, I think talking, or at least a committee of council, I think laws and claims, it'd probably be, because they're already working on a parking issue, there's, other zoning issues that go before laws and claims, that I think, I mean, I don't want to assign it there, of course, that's the mayor and the committee, but, there would be a fit, I think, for council to see this, and at least give some kind
I
of a
think that's a good
blessing
way to do it.
to go forward,
Yeah, laws and claims or streets,
or streets,
yeah.
yeah.
Another, thank you, Tom. Something that came up during the discussion of 30 West Fountain was something in the guidelines about new construction, and that there would be a maximum of 1.5 stories in height.
Mhm.
That was odd.
And I think that's a typo.
Whether
I don't know.
it is in the,
It's in the guidelines.
the green book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's use the green book, has two
Correct.
sections, or at least there, within our code, there is a requirements section and then there was a guidelines section. Under our zoning code, 2.5 stories is maximum permitted. In the guidelines, it's 1.5 stories.
Can't be right.
It can't be.
Though, by nature of them being guidelines, they are, hey, you should do this. They are not legally required or bound or binding. I agree, it seems odd, but there's no, let's say, you know, alternate history. Let's say the 2.5 story structure got approved. It wouldn't be legally perilous because of that. Put it
But
that
it-
way.
I think it weakens the guidelines though if we're,
It's
Yeah.
definitely confusing.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be good for
We
us to change that.
should be
to
consistent, and we
2.5.
should change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the process for changing guidelines?
It is outlined in our ordinance. I would have to review it. It's been a while since I've read it, but I know that guidelines.
Could you do that and bring it back at the next meeting?
Certainly, they were reviewed in 2016, I believe, for windows and a few other
I
things.
think
So
we just missed it.
And thinking about that, instead of 1.5 stories, shouldn't it say something to the effect, if we're gonna include it at all or not,
Number of feet.
really, relative to the homes surrounding,
Mm.
adjacent to, or,
That might make more
you know,
sense.
as just
Well,
like we.
It was
But do
in,
we
it's
have
just
any-
in the guidelines, and it sets a maximum.
The code has
The
a maximum
code
on it.
says it should be comparable in height to
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay for it to just say 2.5.
the, in the guidelines.
Or just
I-
delete it.
Because I don't
Maximum
think we
2.5.
have anything in the village that's more than 2.5. We have some we have some,
Yeah, we do.
houses
We
that are,
do, technically, my house is 3.
We do,
The
and
ceilings are
the
8
one
feet
next
on
to the
top.
firehouse is.
The gables is.
But
But
it's
it's-
definitely 3.
but you're under the roof, right?
Mhm.
Telephone relay, I think, also
Yeah, but it's, ours is 12-12.
And it depends on whether you're talking about
Right.
front or back,
So that's
because the
three.
But
back
it's-
of the one next to the firehouse.
But is it a flat roof or
good
is it a gable
4
roof?
stories.
It's gabled roof, but
Back.
sections of it, the
Mhm.
very center of it is flat.
Yeah, but,
The center of that roof, 10 feet wide,
No,
is
but it-
flat.
the way I understood half is anything that is under the slope of the roof.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
So that,
I-
that it is.
my definition may be wrong.
Yeah.
Or
think you're correct.
probably is wrong.
No,
No, I
no,
think you're correct.
it's
So,
right.
yeah, and then we could argue about what mansard
Well,
roof
and
is.
that's
and
why
Yeah,
you,
right,
that's
right.
why
It-
Right.
yeah.
you need a height
Anyway.
limit and
1.5
a
stories
reference
seems
to-
odd
So perhaps.
Yeah.
for
That's
a
wrenched
town
out
that
house
has
and that's it.
Yeah.
several, many 2-story.
Well, the reason you want that is if people decided I want 16 feet on the first floor and 16 feet on the second floor, right? And then a roof, you'd have a massive building. So that's why you want the height and the,
Right.
yes, the height limit's in there,
Okay.
in the code.
Anyway.
Yeah.
yeah.
Perhaps,
I have-
perhaps the guidelines should just be, eliminate that part.
the number, the 2.5?
Yeah, the 1.5, just eliminate it altogether.
Out of that one section.
Yeah,
All right, well,
just
I'll
that
look
one
at it
line.
for next month.
Okay.
Oh, and before we get too far off this one, if you could just look at this before next month and look at the percentages, and, you know, I know you're gonna look at your house, Randy, your lot.
Yeah,
that
I'm
sort of- Just look and see, and then if you have a chance to look at that Riverside, you know, percentages sheet and online, and some other ones online, if you just look, see if what we put on here as the initial cut seems reasonable. That's all. So is the plan next month, we could vote on whether or not to forward this as a concept to council.
Council. Yeah, I think so. That makes sense.
Is that
Yeah.
good to do? Okay. Thanks.
So at one point, we talked about notification of surrounding,
Oh, yeah,
I was gonna bring that up, yes.
yep.
you want to bring that
Property
up?
No,
owners.
you go ahead, you got it.
Oh, okay. I think that's something we need to look into and tighten up, because it's just something I think is necessary, so that people have a voice and discuss issues.
And is that, one's in particular specific to fences, because they're on the property line? Give the
Well,
neighbor
yeah,
notice
it's-
so they,
I think it's,
they
we
can
can
survey
decide what, but it's more than fences,
everything.
it's.
Yeah, yeah,
it's-
but I think
Yeah.
fences come up all the time and we
Yeah.
just replace them and, okay.
yeah.
I'll be suggesting that for everything that we do, or appropriateness, or only, or
I don't know.
Yeah,
Physical
I will tell you,
constructions.
just in the years that I've been on
Mhm.
the board, and I haven't been here very long, it used to be if you asked people, have you talked to your neighbors, they always said yes. And now if you ask them, most people say no.
What neighbor?
They asked me that in
those things are required, right?
'97. They asked me when I was building my garage, and I said, yeah, and they said, well, and I said, and Jerry said it was okay. They said, well, can we get that in writing? I said, yeah, sure. So I went back and got it in writing.
Well, right now, we only require notice for conditional uses, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that very quickly. Conditional uses for private swimming pools on residential lots requires certified mail notices to neighbors, which is it's a
Well,
little
that's
expensive.
typical
They're
for-
like $9 now.
It's not just for pools, that's for any
Um,
conditional use.
That's
correct?
right. It's for any conditional use, but pools are listed. Private swimming pools are listed as a conditional use.
But for the new house on West Fountain, we didn't have to give notice.
That is correct.
I would
And
think a house
And that's-
would
that's
qualify.
what
for
we
Yeah,
need.
notice
what I would-
If a pool does.
what I would say, just as the person that would put those notices out, we do have a fairly generous deadline for submitting applications to the week before. In time to review those applications, send out notices, make sure they're complete. I would like the planning commission to review maybe a certain number of improvements that would get notice rather than all applications, because I think some, like paver
I agree, it
patios,
should be
right,
all. It should be
is
all.
it's gonna get real burdensome
No.
New house.
real quick.
New structure, with large structure,
Fences.
pool, and I think, maybe, there might be
Yeah,
one or two more, but
it
that's kind of where I'm.
sounds like
where my
everyone's
head
heading in the
starts.
right direction. I just
Yeah.
don't, if somebody wants to, re-roof their house, I don't want to have to mail their neighbors a letter.
No, I agree.
So, that's fine.
Right, just administratively, you have to allow enough time for that mailing to go out and to get the
And
return.
for them to potentially review plans and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it should be considered as part
Yeah,
of
it'll
it.
stretch out the planning process to
Yeah.
some extent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, or, middle ground would be just require them to give notice to their neighbors and certify to us that they've given by way of an affidavit.
That's an idea.
Mhm.
Of course,
Okay.
that could lead to all sorts of problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would feel frankly more comfortable just dropping a notice in the mail to the
And you're
neighbors.
talking about first-class mail, you're not talking about registered and all that
Please,
stuff, right?
just first class
Yeah.
mail.
For conditional uses, we do first class or
No, we do
registered?
No, you
registered.
do registered for that.
Certified
Right.
registered?
I would almost say email if we have it available, and
We try, if there's an opportunity to reach someone a little bit more directly, but when the code spells out what we have to do, we have to make sure
do
we,
it.
Class mail.
You
we
have
do
to
it. If this is an opportunity maybe to review that conditional use status for pools, to at least remove the certified mail requirement, because for some applications, it's easily $50 to send out all those notices. Not to mention, we also send them first class, because who loves getting a certified letter, right?
Sometimes I
Mailman
don't-
knocking
I
on your
don't get
door.
that. Who misses mail delivery sometimes? I do.
Yeah, so.
All right, well, and some of that might be driven by the statute, so we'll have to
Certainly.
look
Yeah,
into
of
that
course.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other changes to the guidelines or the regulations? I mean, it's not, obviously not the last opportunity, just always a requirement that we have this discussion for the annual meeting. But, part of it also could be work programs. Beth, you and I talked about the possibility of having an inventory of accessory structures Do you wanna expand on that, or you wanna put that off to another day?
I would like to put it off till another day.
Okay, fair enough. I'm getting hungry too.
I've got a 7 o'clock
Oh.
meeting, so.
Okay, oh, I forgot about that. Anything else for purposes of our annual meeting, members of the commission? Anything else by way of a motion?
I would move that we adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.